So clearly the biggest worry for business leaders around the world shifted in early 2020. In 2019, we had no idea what was to come, a global pandemic that few had anticipated, and that has triggered the most challenging economic downturn of a generation. It's also accelerated and given new force to pre-existing trends. We are now going to see recovery at multiple speeds as we fight COVID outbreaks that are coming in waves. Before the pandemic, there was a broad consensus that Asian economies are going to grow at a robust rate. Since then, the Asian economy has actually contracted by 1.5% overall in 2020. That compares to 3.2% contraction globally. Looking ahead, Asia is expected to rebound faster. The IMF forecasts that Asia can grow at 7.5% in 2021, 6.4% in 2022. Just as a contrast, the global economy is expected to grow by 6% and 4.9% respectively. But that recovery of Asian economies is happening at varied speeds. Several economies demonstrated rapid recoveries in the second quarter of 2021. Year on year, South Korea grew at 7%. We saw Indonesia growing at 7%, China, Japan by 8%, and actually Malaysia, Philippines, India, Singapore all recorded double-digit growth. But despite all that, only China, South Korea, and Vietnam have managed to recover to pre-pandemic levels. And actually in July, the IMF downgraded its April forecast for several Asian economies. India down by 3 percentage points from April forecast, Japan by 0.5%, ASEAN region by 0.6%. And several of these countries are fighting record numbers of infections and deaths as we speak. So we're going to see wide variations in economic recovery rates among those economies. And this is a function of vaccination rates, the stringency and effectiveness of containment policies, their dependence on tourism and other contact-intensive services, as well as the degree of policy support. Now, the immediate challenge, as in so many other parts of the world, is to continue to fight COVID infections, but at the same time deal with the deep economic fallout from this pandemic. The pandemic has not only raised the geopolitical temperature, but also exacerbated some of the pre-existing challenges. Sadly, its effect has been regressive, hitting those with the lowest incomes the hardest, and it has increased income and gender inequality, and that was already high in Asia. For example, in April 2021, the Asian Development Bank estimated that the number of people living in poverty in Asia increased by more than 170 million people in 2020 because of the pandemic. Globally, women account for 39% of the workforce, but as much as 54% of the job losses due to COVID has been amongst women. And we know that advancing women's equality in Asia could add 4.5 trillion or about 12% to GDP, and that is annually across Asia.